The Christmas lights twinkled mockingly through the window, casting shadows across the diamond necklace in my sister's hands, the one that should have been my wedding deposit. My stomach churned as Kylie tilted it under the light, each facet catching and throwing tiny daggers of brightness across her face. "It's absolutely perfect," she cooed, shooting our mother that conspiratorial smile I'd grown up watching from the sidelines. "You always know exactly what I need." I gripped my coffee mug tighter, the ceramic burning against my palms. The pain felt good, something real to focus on besides the acid rising in my throat. 3 years I'd been saving that money, picking up extra shifts at the hospital, skipping vacations, living in that cramped studio apartment. Also, Jamie and I could have the wedding we'd dreamed about. "Juliana, honey, you're being awfully quiet," Mom said, her voice dripping with that artificial sweetness she used when company was over. "Isn't the necklace stunning on your sister?" I forced my lips into what I hoped passed for a smile. "Beautiful," I managed, the word tasting like metal in my mouth. The same way it had last week when I discovered the empty account, when Dad had stammered through his explanation about temporary loans and family emergencies. Kylie bounced over to the mirror, preening. "It's exactly what I needed for the charity gala. You know Harrison's whole family will be there." She shot me a look over her shoulder. "Sometimes you just have to invest in your future, right?" My future, my savings, my trust shattered like the coffee mug I suddenly wanted to hurl across the room. But that's not what good daughters do. That's not what I do. "Speaking of futures," Mom chirped, "Jamie must be getting anxious about setting a date. You two have been engaged for what, 8 months now?" The concern in her voice was as fake as the sympathy in her eyes when I'd confronted her about the money. "These things happen in families," she'd said. "Kylie just needs a little help right now. You understand, don't you, sweetie? You've always been our practical one." Practical, reliable, doormat. "Actually," I said, setting my mug down with deliberate care, "Jamie and I had an interesting conversation last night." The lie slid out smooth as silk, surprising even me. About family and trust, and what we're willing to sacrifice for the people we love. Something flickered in Mom's eyes. Uncertainty, maybe even fear. Good. "Oh?" Her fingers worried at her pearl necklace, her tell when she's nervous. "What kind of conversation?" I stood gathering my coat. "Just thinking about priorities, about who deserves our loyalty." I paused at the door, watching Kylie still admiring herself. "And who doesn't?" "Juliana," Mom started, but I was already walking out, the screen door banging behind me with a satisfaction I hadn't known I was capable of feeling. The winter air hit my face like a slap, but I welcomed it. Better than the suffocating warmth of lies inside. My phone buzzed. Probably Jamie, wondering why I'd missed our lunch date. Sweet, honest Jamie, who believed the best in everyone. Who'd be horrified if he knew what I was considering. But as I stood there watching my breath cloud in the air, a plan was already crystallizing. Uncle Jacob would understand. He'd been through something similar with Mom and Dad years ago. The family black sheep, they called him. The bitter one who couldn't let go of grudges. Funny how perspective changes everything. I pulled out my phone, fingers trembling slightly as I pulled up his contact. 3 years since we'd spoken. Would he even take my call? Another text from Jamie lit up my screen. "Missing you. Hope everything's okay with the family stuff. Remember, whatever it is, we'll figure it out together." I stared at his message, my throat tight. Sweet Jamie, who deserved a bride focused on their future, not orchestrating revenge, who believed in forgiveness and second chances. But as I glanced back at the window, at Kylie still preening in her stolen diamonds while Mom looked on adoringly, something hardened inside me. They'd stolen more than money. They'd stolen my trust, my place in the family, my belief in happy endings. Time to show them exactly what their practical daughter was capable of. I clicked on Uncle Jacob's number before I could change my mind. It rang twice before his gruff voice answered. "Juliana, this is unexpected." "Uncle Jacob," I said, watching another round of laughter erupt inside. "Remember when you told me someday I'd understand why you cut ties with the family? Well, I think that day just arrived. The silence on the other end stretched for 3 heartbeats. Then, "Come over. We have a lot to discuss." I ended the call, a strange calm settling over me. Through the window, the Christmas lights continued their cheerful dance, but they didn't mock me anymore. They were lighting my way to war. Uncle Jacob's study smelled exactly as I remembered: leather, pipe tobacco, and secrets. Late afternoon sun filtered through dusty windows, catching the brass handles of filing cabinets that lined the walls. I perched on the edge of his leather armchair, hands clasped to stop their shaking. "So," he said, settling behind his massive oak desk, "they finally showed their true colors." The metal taste was back in my mouth. "They emptied my account. $38,000. My voice cracked. "For a necklace, for Kylie." He didn't look surprised, just tired. "Your mother always did have a weakness for shiny things. And your sister—" He trailed off, picking up a letter opener and turning it in his hands. "Well, the apple didn't fall far from that particular tree." I confronted them, I said. Dad just stammered excuses about family obligations. Mom acted like I was being selfish for even questioning it. The memory of her dismissive wave still made my chest tight. But that's not even the worst part. Jacob raised an eyebrow. "I found the paperwork. They've been planning this for months. The account wasn't just emptied. They'd been slowly transferring money out since summer. Small amounts at first, then larger ones." My fingers dug into the chair's leather. "They thought I wouldn't notice because I trusted them to help manage the wedding fund." "Ah." Jacob set down the letter opener. "And I'm guessing this wasn't the first time?" "What do you mean?" He pulled open a drawer, extracting a thick manila folder. "Your college fund, Juliana. The one your grandmother set up before she died." The room suddenly felt too small. "What college fund?" $50,000, earmarked specifically for your education." He slid several documents across the desk. "Your mother convinced the trustees to release it early, said it was for an emergency medical procedure." His mouth twisted. "Interesting timing, that release. Right around when Kylie needed that down payment on her first condo." I stared at the papers, my grandmother's familiar signature swimming before my eyes. All those student loans I was still paying off. All those nights I'd worked through college thinking we just couldn't afford more. "Why?" My voice failed. I tried again. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Would you have believed me?" His eyes were kind, but knowing. "Back then, you still thought they hung the moon. Besides, I was already the family pariah after exposing your father's creative accounting at the firm. Nobody was listening to crazy Uncle Jacob anymore." The truth of it hit like a physical blow. I'd avoided him for years, believing their whispers about his bitterness, his jealousy, his lies. All while they'd been systematically stealing my future. My phone buzzed, another text from Jamie. "Getting worried. Please call me." Jacob watched me silence it. "Does he know?" "No." I rubbed my temples. He'd tell me to take the high road, to focus on our future, not the past. "And is that what you want to do?" The question hung in the air. Through the window, I could see the sun setting, painting the sky the same color as Kylie's stolen diamonds. "No," I said finally. "I want them to feel what I'm feeling. I want them to understand what it's like to have everything taken by someone you trusted." My voice hardened. "I want them to pay." Jacob nodded slowly. "Then you should know there's more. Much more." He stood, walking to one of the filing cabinets. "Your father's firm, his position on the hospital board, your mother's charity foundation. It's all built on quicksand. Years of creative accounting, misappropriated funds, favors called in to cover tracks." My head spun. "How do you know all this?" "Because I've been gathering evidence since they forced me out." He pulled out another folder, thicker than the first. "Originally for my own protection, but now—" He held it out. "Maybe it's time this information found a better use." I stared at the folder, understanding the choice it represented. Take it, and there was no going back. No more being the good daughter, the understanding sister, the practical one who sacrificed without complaint. My phone buzzed again. Jamie's face lit up the screen, his smile warm and trusting. everything I was about to risk. If we do this, I said, reaching for the folder, we do it smart. No mistakes, no warnings. The paper felt heavy in my hands, weighted with possibility. They need to feel completely safe right up until the moment everything crashes down. Uncle Jacob's smile was grim. Then we should start with the charity gala, the one where Kylie's planning to debut her new necklace. I thought of my sister's smirk in the mirror, my mother's false concern, my father's weak excuses. 3 decades of being the family doormat, compressed into a single, clarifying moment of rage. Yes, I said, opening the folder. Let's start there. The charity gala invitation felt heavy in my hands, gold lettering catching the morning light. 2 weeks of planning had led to this moment, but my fingers still trembled as I dialed the number. Harrison speaking. His voice was exactly as pompous as I remembered from Kylie's endless stories about her perfect boyfriend. Hi, Harrison. This is Juliana, Kylie's sister. I forced warmth into my tone. I'm helping Mom with the gala seating arrangements, and I wanted to confirm something about your family's preferences. Oh, yes, of course. He brightened immediately. Kylie mentioned you'd taken on more foundation responsibilities. Wonderful to see you getting involved. I swallowed hard against the bitterness rising in my throat. My involvement had always been behind the scenes, stuffing envelopes, arranging flowers, being the reliable one while Kylie sparkled in the spotlight. Actually, I said, I had some concerns about the Foundation's financial reports, some discrepancies I noticed while organizing the donor files. The silence on the other end stretched just a beat too long. I'm not sure I follow. Maybe I should speak with your father directly, since he's on the board of directors. No! The sharp edge in his voice confirmed Uncle Jacob's intel. Harrison's father had been helping cover my parents' creative accounting for years. I mean, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. Why don't we discuss it at tomorrow's pre-gala meeting? Perfect. I ended the call and turned to Jacob, who'd been listening intently. You were right. He's definitely worried. Of course he is. Jacob shuffled through some papers. The question is, will he tell your sister? He won't risk it. Kylie can't keep secrets to save her life. I'd learned that lesson early, watching her trade my confidences for our mother's approval. He'll try to handle it quietly. Then we proceed to phase 2. Jacob handed me another document. But first you should know, Jamie called me this morning. My heart stuttered. What? He's worried. Says you've been distant, canceling plans. Jacob's eyes were gentle but firm. He asked if I knew what was going on with you and the family. What did you tell him? Nothing, but Juliana. He leaned forward. He loves you. Maybe it's time to... No. The word came out sharper than I intended. Jamie believes in second chances, in talking things through. He'd try to stop this. And would that be so wrong? I stood, pacing to the window. Outside, early spring flowers were pushing through the soil, stubborn, determined little things fighting their way toward light. You don't understand, I said finally. Jamie sees the best in everyone. He'd tell me to forgive them, to focus on our future together. But every time I close my eyes, I see Kylie wearing my wedding fund around her neck. I see Mom's dismissive wave, Dad's weak excuses. My voice cracked. I see 30 years of being the good daughter. And where did it get me? So, you're willing to risk losing him over this? The question hit like a physical blow. I pressed my forehead against the cool glass, remembering Jamie's face the night he proposed. His absolute certainty that we'd face everything together. My phone buzzed, a text from Kylie. Emergency! Harrison acting weird about gala, need to talk. It's starting, I said, showing Jacob the message. She has no idea he's panicking about the Foundation's finances. And when he distances himself to protect his family's interests, she'll be devastated. The satisfaction in my voice surprised even me. Just in time for her big moment at the gala. Jacob studied me for a long moment. You know, revenge changes people, not always in ways they expect. I'm counting on it. I picked up my purse, checking my lipstick in a nearby mirror. Kylie wants to talk? Fine. Time to play the supportive sister one last time. But as I reached for the door, Jacob called out softly. Your grandmother used to say you had her heart, gentle but strong. He paused. She also said sometimes the gentlest hearts, when broken, become the most dangerous. I thought of the diamond necklace, of stolen futures and shattered trust, of Jamie's faith in happy endings. Maybe that's exactly what they deserve, I said, and stepped out into the spring sunshine. My phone buzzed again. Jamie this time. Miss you. Dinner tonight? I stared at his message, thumb hovering over the reply button. Every lie I told him carved another piece from my heart. But I thought of the documents in Jacob's office, of years of systematic betrayal hidden behind family loyalty. Can't tonight? I typed back. Family emergency. At least that part wasn't a lie. Kylie's favorite coffee shop hadn't changed, all gleaming copper and overpriced lattes. I found her hunched over a table in the corner, her designer handbag occupying the chair meant for me. Classic Kylie. Thank God you're here, she said, not looking up from her phone. Harrison's being totally weird, like canceled our dinner plans weird. I moved her bag and sat down, noting the diamond necklace still prominently displayed against her cashmere sweater. My wedding fund, sparkling in the afternoon sun. Maybe he's stressed about the gala, I offered, stirring my coffee. Dad mentioned the foundation's been under extra scrutiny lately. Her head snapped up. What? Since when do you and Dad discuss foundation business? Oh, you know. I shrugged. Just trying to be more involved, like Mom's always wanted. Kylie's eyes narrowed. Something flickered across her face. Doubt? Fear? Right. Because you're suddenly interested in the foundation after years of avoiding it. People change. I met her gaze steadily. Sometimes they surprise you. Yeah, well, she fidgeted with the necklace. Speaking of surprises, Mom told me about your little outburst the other day, about the wedding fund. Did she tell you where the money went? It was an investment in my future. Her chin lifted defiantly. Harrison's family has connections. This gala could change everything for me. And my future? My wedding? Oh, please. She rolled her eyes. Like you and Jamie need some fancy ceremony. You guys are basically married already. Besides, you're good at making do with less. It's kind of your thing. The casual cruelty of it stole my breath. All those years of hand-me-downs, of scaled-back dreams, of watching Kylie get everything while I learned to want nothing, distilled into one dismissive statement. My phone buzzed. Jamie again. Haven't seen you in days. Everything okay? Kylie noticed. Trouble in paradise? Actually, I said, an idea forming. Jamie's been asking questions about the foundation, the family finances. The color drained from her face. What did you tell him? Nothing yet. But he works in financial law, you know. He notices things. You can't... She grabbed my hand, her nails digging in. Juliana, promise me you won't say anything. The gala's too important. Harrison's father will be there, and if there's even a hint of impropriety... I gently extracted my hand. Of course not. We're family, right? Relief flooded her features. She hadn't even noticed the edge in my voice, too wrapped up in her own concerns. Typical. God, you're the best. She stood, gathering her things. I have to run. Final dress fitting. But we should do this more often. Maybe after the gala? I watched her leave, touching the coffee cup she'd left for me to clear away. Same old pattern. Kylie creates chaos. I clean up the mess. But not this time. My phone buzzed again. Jamie. Coming over tonight, we need to talk. The message sent ice through my veins. I called Jacob. He knows something, I said when he answered. Jamie's coming over to talk. Are you sure you want to continue with this? Jacob's voice was careful. There's still time to step back. I touched my neck where the phantom weight of my grandmother's pearls should have been. Another inheritance that had mysteriously found its way to Kylie. No, but I need to move faster. I took a deep breath. The documents you showed me about Dad's creative accounting, send them to me. All of them. Juliana, They're going to lose everything anyway once this comes out. At least this way, I control when and how it happens. A long pause. And Jamie? I thought of his face, how it would look when he realized what I'd done. How similar it might be to my expression when I'd discovered the empty account. Sometimes, I said, you have to break something completely before you can rebuild it. Your grandmother used to say something similar, Jacob mused. Right before she cut your mother out of her will. I sat up straighter. What? Oh. His voice turned careful. You didn't know? The college fund wasn't the only thing your mother manipulated. The entire inheritance. Well, that's a conversation for another time. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too bright. Another betrayal, deeper than I'd imagined. Send me everything, I said. Not just the foundation documents. Everything. Are you sure? Once you know certain things? I'm sure. I watched Kylie's abandoned coffee cup, still leaving rings on the table. It's time everyone's truth came to light. I ended the call, staring at Jamie's message. Tonight would change everything, one way or another. Good thing I'd always been good at making do with less. Jamie was already waiting at my apartment when I arrived, his familiar silhouette framed by my kitchen window. The sight of him, hands in pockets, shoulders tense, made my heart ache with everything I was about to lose. Your mother called me, he said without turning around. 3 words, and my carefully constructed plan began to crumble. What did she say? I kept my voice neutral, setting my keys down with deliberate care. She's worried about you, says you've been acting strange, asking questions about the foundation. Now he turned, his eyes searching my face. She thinks you're having some kind of breakdown over the wedding fund situation. A laugh bubbled up, harsh, unfamiliar. Of course she does. Easier than admitting what they did. Jules. He stepped closer, reaching for my hand. I let him take it, wondering if he could feel my pulse racing. I know you're hurt, but this obsession with revenge, with exposing family secrets, this isn't you. Maybe it is now. I pulled away, moving to the kitchen counter where Jacob's documents lay hidden in my bag. Maybe this is who I've always been, just waiting for the right moment. No. His voice was firm. The Juliana I know believes in forgiveness, in fixing things, not destroying them. The Juliana you know was a doormat. The words tasted like freedom. She let them take everything, her college fund, her inheritance, her wedding dreams, all while smiling and being the good daughter. Jamie went very still. What inheritance? Too late, I realized my mistake. I hadn't meant to reveal that part yet. It doesn't matter. I turned away, but he caught my arm. It matters if it's driving you to do something you can't take back. His grip was gentle but insistent. Talk to me, Jules. Please. The concern in his voice nearly broke me. I thought of all our plans, our shared dreams of a simple wedding and a life built on trust. How had we ended up here? My grandmother left me everything, I said finally. The house, the investments, all of it. Mom somehow convinced the trustees to transfer it all before I turned 25, before I even knew it existed. How much? Almost $2 million. His sharp intake of breath filled the silence, but that's not even the worst part. I pulled away, retrieving the documents from my bag. Look at these. Years of systematic fraud at the foundation. Dad's been embezzling money, Mom's been covering it up, and they used my inheritance to hide the evidence. Jamie took the papers, his lawyer's eyes scanning quickly. Jules, this is serious. If this gets out, they'll lose everything. I watched his face carefully. The foundation, their reputations, probably their freedom. And that's what you want? I want justice. No, he set the papers down. You want revenge. There's a difference. Is there? I moved to the window, watching the city lights blur through unexpected tears. They stole my future, Jamie, multiple times, used me while favoring Kylie, and now they're worried about me, Now they call my fiancé to intervene? Because they love you. They love what I represent. The reliable one. The one who never causes problems. I turned back to him. But I'm done being that person. Even if it costs you everything? He stepped closer. Even if it costs us? The moment stretched between us, heavy with possibility and loss. I have to do this, I whispered. With or without you. Jamie closed his eyes briefly, pain etching lines around his mouth. When he opened them, something had changed. Then I need to show you something. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through emails. Your mother didn't just call me, she sent me this. I took the phone, reading quickly, then again, slower, as the implications sank in. No, I breathed. This can't be right. I verified it myself. His voice was gentle. The foundation isn't just your parents' fraud. Your Uncle Jacob, he's been manipulating everything from the beginning, including you. The room tilted sideways. I grabbed the counter for support, staring at the evidence on the screen. Jacob's signature on documents dated years before his supposed exile from the family. His careful orchestration of events that led to his discovery of the fraud. He wanted revenge too, Jamie said softly. He just needed someone else to take the fall. My phone buzzed. Jacob, right on cue. Everything set for tomorrow? I stared at his message, remembering his careful guidance, his perfectly timed revelations, the way he'd stoked my anger while positioning himself as my only ally. Jules? Jamie touched my shoulder. What are you going to do? I looked at the documents scattered across my counter. Weapons meant to destroy my family, handed to me by a man I'd trusted completely. I'm going to make someone pay, I said. Just not who I originally planned. Uncle Jacob's study felt different now. The leather and pipe tobacco scent that had once seemed comforting now felt cloying, artificial, like everything else about him. I sat in my usual chair, Jamie's evidence burning a hole in my phone, and watched him shuffle papers with practiced concern. The gala's tomorrow, he said, not looking up. Everything's in place. Once Harrison's father sees these documents. Did you kill her? The question cut through the room like a blade. His hand stilled. Excuse me? Grandmother. My voice was steady despite my racing heart. Did you kill her, or just manipulate her into changing the will? The silence stretched for exactly 3 seconds before he smiled. Not his usual warm uncle smile, but something colder, more calculated. Interesting theory. He leaned back, studying me. What makes you ask? The timing. I met his gaze. She changes her will, making me the sole heir instead of mom. 2 weeks later, she dies in her sleep. Then you spend years orchestrating this elaborate revenge scheme, using me as your puppet. Not a puppet. He spread his hands. A partner, someone equally wronged by this family's corruption. Except you're the corruption, aren't you? I pulled out my phone, showing him the emails Jamie had found. You've been embezzling from the foundation for years, long before Dad got involved. You just needed someone else to take the blame when it all fell apart. His expression didn't change, but something dangerous flickered in his eyes. And you believe your precious Jamie about this? The man who'd say anything to protect your parents? I believe the evidence, the same way you taught me to. I stood, moving toward the door. It's over, Uncle Jacob. I'm going to the police. Sit down, Juliana. The command in his voice froze me mid-step. When I turned, he was holding a small revolver. Really? I forced a calm I didn't feel. This is your solution? You're so much like her, he said, almost sadly. Your grandmother had that same righteous certainty, that same inability to see the bigger picture. Did she figure it out too? Is that why she had to die? She was going to ruin everything. He gestured to the chair with the gun. Sit, please. I sat, mind racing. Jamie knew where I was. We'd planned for this. But how long before he realized something was wrong? You know what's interesting? Jacob continued conversationally. Everyone thinks revenge is about anger, but it's really about patience. Years of careful planning, of earning trust, of waiting for the perfect moment. He smiled. Your parents and sister were just bonus players. You were always the key. Because I inherited everything. Because you were innocent. His voice hardened. The perfect victim. The selfless daughter everyone took advantage of. Who would question you turning against them after what they did? My phone buzzed. Jacob's eyes flicked to it. That'll be Jamie, I said. He's expecting me. Then you should text him. Tell him everything's fine, that you're staying to help me prepare for tomorrow. I pulled out my phone slowly, deliberately, opened my messages. You won't get away with this, I said, buying time. The police. We'll find a tragic murder-suicide, the unstable daughter, driven to desperation by family betrayal, confronting her equally unstable uncle. Such a shame, really. My fingers shook as I typed, running late, still with Uncle Jacob. His smile widened as I hit send. Good girl, now! The study door burst open. Jamie and 2 police officers rushed in, weapons drawn. Drop it! One officer shouted as Jacob swung the gun toward them. Everything happened at once. The crack of gunfire, Jacob falling, Jamie pulling me behind him, my phone clattering to the floor, screen still showing the distress code we'd arranged, still with Uncle Jacob, the signal that meant I was in danger. Are you okay? Jamie's hands were on my face, checking for injuries. I came as soon as I got your message. I nodded, watching the officers handcuff my uncle. He was laughing softly, blood seeping from his shoulder wound. You really are just like her, he called to me. She tried to be clever too, thought she could outsmart me. The difference is, I said, my voice shaking, I had help. She died alone. His laughter cut off abruptly. In the sudden silence, one officer read him his rights, while the other bagged the revolver as evidence. The documents, I remembered suddenly. All the evidence of his fraud is safe, Jamie assured me. The police have everything. Your parents, the foundation, it's all going to come out now. I leaned against him, watching them lead Jacob away. Tomorrow's gala would still bring destruction, just not the kind any of us had planned. Take me home, I whispered to Jamie, please. But as we left the study, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Jacob's words echoed in my head. Revenge isn't about anger, it's about patience. And somewhere in the gathering darkness, Kylie's diamond necklace still sparkled with my stolen dreams. The gala ballroom glittered like a fever dream. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, and 300 of the city's elite pretending the world wasn't about to shatter. I adjusted my black dress, borrowed from Krista since my savings were still wrapped around Kylie's neck, and watched my sister work the room. She hadn't heard about Jacob yet. None of them had. You don't have to do this, Jamie murmured beside me, his hand warm against my back. The police have everything they need. I need to see their faces. I sipped champagne I couldn't taste. When they realize what's coming... Across the room, Mom was holding court with her charity board members, elegant in midnight blue. Dad stood nearby, laughing too loudly at someone's joke. They looked so normal, so innocent, just like Jacob had. Juliana! Kylie's voice cut through my thoughts. She practically bounced over, diamonds catching the light. You actually came, and you look... nice. The familiar dismissal barely stung now. Wouldn't miss it, especially since Uncle Jacob helped plan everything so carefully. Something flickered in her eyes. Speaking of Jacob, have you heard from him? He's not answering his phone. Oh, he's been detained, I smiled. But don't worry, everything he planned for tonight will still happen. Before she could respond, feedback squealed through the speakers. Harrison's father took the stage, looking distinctly uncomfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention... I checked my watch, right on schedule. What's happening? Kylie grabbed my arm. Harrison's been acting weird all day, and now his father looks... guilty? I gently removed her hand. Maybe he's thinking about all those foundation documents he helped falsify, the ones the police are reviewing right now. The color drained from her face. What did you do? Me? Nothing. I took another sip of champagne. Uncle Jacob did most of it. Well, until he tried to shoot me yesterday. What? Turns out he was the real criminal all along. had been stealing from the foundation for years, setting up Dad to take the fall. I watched her process this. Of course, Dad's not innocent either. None of you are. On stage, Harrison's father was stumbling through an announcement about regulatory investigations and temporary suspension of foundation activities. Mom's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. "You knew," Kylie whispered. "You knew this was coming and you didn't warn us? Like you warned me about stealing my wedding fund?" The words tasted like victory. "Or about Mom stealing my inheritance? That was different. We're family." "Exactly." I turned to face her fully. "We're family, and you all betrayed me. Multiple times." Across the room, Dad was backing away from his business associates, their faces hardening as phones buzzed with breaking news alerts. Mom had gone completely still, watching me with dawning horror. "The police will be here soon," I said quietly. "To arrest Dad for fraud. Mom too, probably. They'll want to question you about the necklace, stolen funds and all that." Kylie's hands flew to her throat. "You can't, I didn't—" "No," I finished. "Neither did I, about any of it. Funny how that works." Her face crumpled. For a moment, I saw my little sister again, the one who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, who once drew me a whole book of pictures titled Best Sister Ever. "Please," she whispered, "help me fix this." The request hit me like a physical blow. How many times had I put myself last to fix her problems, to protect her from consequences? Jamie's hand found mine, squeezing gently, reminding me I wasn't that person anymore. "I can't fix this," I said, "and I won't try." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Around us, the party dissolved into chaos as people rushed for exits, phones pressed to ears. Mom was crying now, mascara tracking down her cheeks as Dad tried to pull her toward a side door. "The necklace," I said to Kylie. "Take it off." "What?" "Take it off. It was bought with my money, my future." I held out my hand. "Give it back." Her fingers trembled as she unclasped it. The diamonds felt heavy in my palm, still warm from her skin. "What will you do with it?" she asked as police burst through the doors. I thought of Jacob in his cell, of all his careful plans backfiring, of patience and revenge and the cost of both. "I'm going to sell it," I said, watching officers approach our parents. "And have the wedding I always wanted, the one where none of you are invited." The diamonds sparkled as I dropped them into my clutch, no longer a weight around anyone's neck. Behind me, Jamie wrapped his arms around my waist, and together we watched justice arrive in blue uniforms and silver handcuffs. Some things, it turns out, are worth more than family. The courthouse steps felt colder than they should in spring. I sat watching the sunrise paint the city gold, the same color as my grandmother's locket in my hands. The lawyer had given it to me yesterday, found in a safety deposit box with a letter I still couldn't bring myself to read. "Thought I'd find you here?" Krista settled beside me, offering coffee. "Big day. Sentencing day." I traced the locket's worn edges. "Shouldn't you be at work?" "My best friend's family is going to prison. Work can wait." She bumped my shoulder. "Jamie's worried about you." "I know." I'd left him sleeping in our apartment, unable to face his gentle concern. "He thinks I should feel worse about all this." "Do you?" Before I could answer, a familiar figure appeared at the bottom of the steps. Kylie, looking smaller without her designer clothes and diamond accessories. She spotted me and started climbing. "Security knows you're not supposed to be here," I called out. She kept coming. "I had to see you, before—" She gestured vaguely at the courthouse. "Everything." I didn't move as she sat on my other side, careful to leave space between us. "Nice outfit," I said. The department store blazer was a far cry from her usual wardrobe. "Harrison's mother bought it. For appearances." She laughed hollowly. "Apparently I need to look appropriately repentant when my parents are sentenced." "And are you? Repentant?" She plucked at the blazer's sleeve. "I found grandmother's journals, in Mom's study, after the arrests." Her voice shook. "She wrote about you all the time. How special you were. How much you reminded her of herself. She knew what Mom was planning with the inheritance. She was going to stop it. until Jacob stopped her instead. The locket felt heavier suddenly. She left you a letter. Kylie's eyes fixed on the locket. In there. I sat up straighter. How do you know that? Because she left me one too, in my journal. She pulled a folded paper from her pocket. She knew Juliana. She knew exactly what I would become, the spoiled one, the taker. She tried to warn me. My fingers trembled on the locket's clasp. And did you listen? Would you believe me if I said I'm trying now? Before I could respond, more cars pulled up, media vans, their satellite dishes reaching toward the brightening sky. Soon they'd be setting up cameras, waiting to capture our parents' arrival for sentencing. I should go, Kylie said, standing. Harrison's mother doesn't want me talking to you. Because I ruined everything? Because you were right. She handed me her letter. Here, maybe knowing she saw it all coming will help somehow. I watched her descend the steps, shoulders straight despite the cameras starting to point her way. When she reached the bottom, she turned back. I really did love the necklace, she called up, but I loved being your sister more. I just forgot that somewhere along the way. She disappeared into a waiting car as Krista squeezed my hand. You okay? I opened the locket. Inside, just as Kylie said, was a carefully folded letter. But there was something else, too. A small key I recognized from childhood visits to grandmother's house. To the garden shed where she kept her most precious things. The shed that, according to the estate papers Jacob showed me, had been empty when she died. My hands shook as I unfolded her letter, reading quickly. Then again, slower, as understanding dawned. Oh my God. I stood suddenly. We have to go. Now. What? Where? The house. Grandmother's house. I was already moving, pulling out my phone to call Jamie. She knew everything. About Jacob, about Mom, all of it. She left evidence in the garden shed. Real evidence, not Jacob's manipulated version. But the house was sold after her death. I smiled, remembering summer afternoons helping grandmother tend her roses. How she'd always said gardens held the best secrets. No, I said. The house sale was faked. Another piece of Jacob's manipulation. Which means... The shed is still there, Krista finished, realization dawning. With whatever she left for you. More cars were arriving now. Soon our parents would face justice, but maybe not the version Jacob had orchestrated. Maybe something truer, cleaner. Something worthy of grandmother's faith in me. I clutched the key, feeling its edges bite into my palm. Some things are worth more than family, I'd told Kylie at the gala. But maybe some family is worth more than revenge. Coming? I asked Krista, already knowing her answer. Together we left the courthouse steps, heading toward a truth that had been waiting in a garden shed all along. Patient as growing things, strong as roots breaking through stone.